morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Another year gone by, and we're looking down the trail at 2017 coming towards us, hoping for decent cattle prices, abundant moisture, a mild winter, and an early spring. Well, that's my wish list. Today, as we have on the final show of the year, for the last 24 years, we'll look back at some of the tracks we made in the last 12 months. Some of the most memorable conversations, the best poetry, and the best music we've been able to share. You'll hear the first of our collection of real-life ranching adventures after a song from a great CD that made its debut in 2016, Dave Stamey and the Fence Buildin' Blues.
He got a roll of rusty wire, a big old T-post driver. He had some pride, but he don't know where it went. He's got a set of post-hole diggers. It's hard to him to figure how we wound up out here building fence. Hired on as a rider, but now they've got him stretching wire. That wind is cold and he thinks it's gonna rain. In this hard and rocky ground, you can't hardly pound these T-posts down. This kind of work just goes against his grain. He's got those fence building blues, quite a blow to his ego. He's wearing low heel shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. The boss said, get it done. These old cross ties weigh a ton. And he thinks he's left his pliers in the barn. He's using yellow wire stretchers. And mister, you can bet you this old tamping bar is wearing out his arms. He's got those fence building blues, quite a blow to his ego. He's wearing low heel shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. This ain't the Western dream. It's insulting, it's demeaning. It's enough to make an old cowboy whine. They didn't even leave him a beer. Hell, he'd quit, but there ain't nobody out here. And that truck ain't coming back till supper time. He's got those fence building blues, quite a blow to his ego. He's wearing low heel shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. Yeah, he's out here with those fence building blues.
That's Dave Stamey, and he is so popular that his schedule is filled with bookings right up into 2018. And, of course, he'll be a headliner at Elko in March. Now, last year on our Spirit of the West cruise, Don Howard, longtime rancher, cowboy, and fiddle player in our Cruisin' Cowboy band, told us about an adventure that found its way into his very popular book, Under a Cow Patty.
It was in a deep canyon in a coulee in a pasture, and it was down. I couldn't find him for the longest time, but I could hear the cow bawling, and I seen she had a full udder. She hadn't been nursed on for 3-4 days. I was about to give up, and I heard the faint bawl of a calf somewhere. So I searched for hours, couldn't find that darn thing. Till finally my horse was going down one path, and I could see it was looking or knew something that I didn't know. And I crawled around in the brush, and here there was a little cavity, and it had fallen down into a wash that was about 10 feet deep, and muck in the bottom. Yeah. So
he was still alive.
He was still alive. He was ganted up and all covered with mud. So I jumped down threw a rope down, dallied on the horse, and threw a rope down in there. And
from your saddle horn?
Yeah. Put hobbles on the horse, and then I couldn't get out of the cave after I put the rope around the neck and the front legs so it wouldn't choke it. So I thought, well, I'll back the horse.
So you put the rope around the calf's front legs?
Front leg and neck.
Yeah. And you're down in the hole with the calf now?
Yeah, I'm down. It's about 10 feet down there, and he could not crawl out of there no how.
Oh, man. So your horse is up above, and you and the calf are down below.
Yeah. So I thought, well, the only way to get out of here is if maybe I can back the old horse up. So I hollered at him to back up.
And he had hobbles on.
Yeah, but he got back enough, threw a few waves at him with the rope. And he backed up enough, and it pulled the calf up just enough so I could get up on the calf's head with my muddy boots, and my head was just sticking out the hole then.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was able to crawl out. I didn't take me long to get out of there once I had that footstool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of skeletons and bones and caves.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought that, in 10 years from now, somebody would come along and all they'd find is your skeleton and the calf's skeleton down in the hole.
That's right.
And your horse is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
One of the best cowboy poetry albums of the year came from Susie Knight, and when it arrived, this is the first track we shared with you called 3 Saddle Horses.
The sorting pens were empty and the help went on their way. Now waiting for his better half was rancher Buck O'Shea. The day was slowly fadin' with the settin' of the sun, and 3 saddle horses with him. 'Twas their sorrel, bay, and dun. 2 neighbors came that mornin', so he lent them each a horse. They met up at his homestead bright and early, set their course to locate all his cattle in the section toward the west and trail 'em to the neighbor's pen. Agreed that would be best. They vaccinated all and doctored any in the bunch with foot rot, bloat, and pink eye. Then they paused to eat some lunch. They mounted up to ride again 'cause it was getting late. Each counted horns as one by one they filed out the gate. They trailed 'em to a pasture that was empty for a year, where grass was green and plenty and the mountain stream ran clear. And they rode to where they started out, back at the sortin' pen, and hands were clasped in gratitude by all 3 working men. They left Old Buck at sunset. One wife gave both a ride. It sure gets quiet out there when you're waiting for your bride. Where is that gal? Buck wondered. Then his bay horse nickered low. Ah, there was Sally walking with their little girl in tow. He whistled and he waved his arm. She stumbled without hope. He tied 2 up and mounted one, then kicked him to a lope. Hey, greetings, lass, he hid his grin. So where'd you hide the truck? She halted in her tracks and sighed. You won't believe my luck. Buck saw her disappointment. All she had to do was drive his diesel truck and gooseneck to the sortin' pens by 5. He stepped down from his bay horse, gently took her by the hand. Oh, tell me all about it, dear. I'm sure I'll understand. Well, she got behind that afternoon. The child's nap went long, and that was just the start of all the things that had gone wrong. She burnt the stew, she spilt the milk, she lost the diesel's key. Once she found it, then the youngster needed time to... She knew the clock was ticking way too fast, but now was stuck as their precious on the potty wasn't having any luck. Then finally, Eureka, Mommy's proud of you, let's go. Daddy's waiting with the horses and we're moving way too slow. They loaded up and headed down the dirt road at a clip. She realized the gooseneck wasn't hooked up for this trip. Oh, it took her 7 tries to line the 5th wheel with the ball. She cranked it down, secured the rig, was prepped to make the haul. The diesel bumped along as she tried to make up time. She didn't even notice that the fuel gauge bell went chime. Now, driving in a pasture was not her favorite chore. To follow tire ruts and dirt for sure requires more than many people realize, 'cause even in a truck, it's easy to get totally high-centered. Now you're stuck. By now, her eyes held puddles. When it rains, it pours so cruel. As Sally rocked the truck, she ran his diesel out of fuel. Buck kissed his little lassie to alleviate her blues. He hugged her shoulder as he said, "Aw, hon, I've got good news. We'll leave the truck till mornin'. I'll fix it then, my dear. Let's ride home in the moonlight. We've 3 saddle horses. Here."
Coming up, another one of those good songs from last year and another one of those wonderful and true stories when the Best of 2016 continues right after this. Welcome back to the Best of 2016 from the Spirit of the West. We recorded another real-life adventure from a well-known rancher and played it for you on a program in February last year. You'll hear that story after a song from a CD that arrived here early in the year from 3 brothers from Montana known as the High Country Cowboys.
Roll along, roll on, yippee-yay. The roundup time is over, the cowboy's feeling fine. Gonna ride on into town to see that gal of mine. Oh, I haven't gotta worry 'cause I haven't got the time. And I know I gotta hurry 'cause she's always on my mind. Roll on, as the cowboys ride along, hear their song. Yippee-yi, yippee-oh, oh, the roundup is over today. Oh, the summer sun is shining and the prairie sky is bright, and this old cowboy's pining for the one I'll see tonight. So swing up in the saddle and I'll ride off like the wind, 'cause I'm all through chasing cattle and I'm off to town again. Roll on, roll on, roll on, as the cowboys ride along, hear their song. Yippee-yi, yippee-oh, for the roundup is over today. As I come up on the hill, the town lays there below, and it gives my heart a thrill, for she's a-waiting there, I know. Oh, the sun is gone from sight, and the lights are all aglow, and my heart is feeling light as down the hill I go. Roll on, roll on, roll on, as the cowboys ride along, hear their song. Yippee-yi, yippee-oh, yippee-yay, for the roundup is over today. Roll on, roll on, as the cowboys ride along, hear their song. Yippee-yi, yippee-oh, for the roundup is over today. Roll along, roll on, yippee-yay.
Early in 2016, a group of us sat around in the sunshine on our Spirit of the West cruise, swapping our cowboy adventures from back home, and the well-known rancher Ron Hansen of Hansen Ranches told us about a colt he had high hopes for.
So this colt, you'd started and you made some progress with him, and then he would get a wire cut or something would go wrong, so you'd treat him for a couple of months, and then you'd ride him for a while.
Yeah, he kept on. The good news was he kept on through the fence with the same foot and got the wire cut in the same spot every time. But for 3 times I did this. And by the time I got him finally all healed up and got going on him, he was 4 years old. And so we're riding, and he was coming pretty nice. But every time I had to push him to get by a cow, he'd tighten up, trying to tell you he was going to do something, so I'd pull up. And he was a pretty smart horse because he got to knowing every time I got to pushing, he did that. Finally, I thought, well, I'll fix him. So he started to tighten up, and I jabbed him once, and did he unwind. Bucked me off and bucked all around me, and then I got on him, and it was over. But a little while later, we were calving cows, and this calf was across the creek, and I'd throw this calf across the creek and get on my horse, and he didn't want to cross the stream very bad, and the calf would swim back. And this
calf would go swim back to the other side.
To me. And so the third time I throw him on, I jump on, and I'm going to push him across there, and I jabbed him, and he unwound and bucked me off and bucked up the hill. I walk up and get him and get on, and the good news was when he got bucking, he scared the calf away, so he didn't come back across the creek. And I'm looking at these cows, and I can't see them very good. I bought a new pair of glasses, and I'd lost them and hadn't thought of them. So I ride down, and I'm afraid to step on these glasses looking for these things. My son come down and helped me find them, but that was the last time that horse ever bucked.
Wow.
He wound up being a great horse. I sold him to a big ranch out west of Williams Lake, and they thought he was one of the best ranch horses they'd ever had. He was strong and cowy.
As you know, we feature a classic Western song on each program and try to find a little history behind it, and here's what you heard in that segment back in April of 2016. The song was first recorded by Bing Crosby with Victor Young and his orchestra in 1936. It was a big success and was recorded by the Sons of the Pioneers and Tex Ritter, as well as Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. And the same year, Jimmy Weekly did a real nice version of it in 1957. And a group that Sonny James adopted and turned them into a Southern gentleman, the Eligibles, did it in 1960. And that's one version I still can't find. But the song was written by Kurt Polton and Fred Rose. Polton, of course, a harmony singer, one of the first groups to ever appear on the Grand Ole Opry, the Vagabonds. And Fred Rose was a huge icon in the country music publishing business. The song is considered one of their finest, and here's a brand new version of it, We'll Rest at the End of the Trail, from Kimmy Hudson.
Dusty, oh pal, the sun is sinking low beyond the range. We're still together, trusty, oh pal, riding the trail so strange, weary and tired, our work is all through, but we'll rest at the end of the trail. We'll stand round the fire when there's nothing to do, but we'll rest at the end of the trail. If we feel like roping, we'll hitch to a star. Just keep on loping, it's not very far. Weary and tired, our work is all through, but we'll rest at the end of the trail.
more of the best of 2016, including the best of Baxter Black, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the best of 2016 from the Spirit of the West. 52 times a year, Baxter Black drops in with something worth hearing, and here's one of his best from 2016.
With a little peek at the Cattail Bog. What holds the loaded 30,000-pound trailer to the heavy-duty truck? What holds the 38-foot RV trailer to the dually? What holds the 2-horse trailer with your daughter's favorite pony to the half-ton pickup? Well, the odds are it's a B&W trailer hitch, probably a turnover bowl, American-made, employee-owned, customer-tuned, and proud of their part in America's greatness. B&W, holding things together down the road. We see lots of cartoons about mechanized cowboys. The Lone Ranger on his three-wheeler, Tonto on a moped, helicopters, snowmobiles, ATVs, jet boats, and skateboards are all rumored to have been used in handling cattle. Well, last month, Tom showed me photographic proof that Canadian cowboys are on the cutting edge of space-age buckaroodom. The picture shows Tom sitting on the hood of his old Chevy pickup. His feet are on the bumper, and he's braced against his patented roping bosun's chair and dally post. Dolores, his long-suffering, is shown behind the wheel, hands over her ears, as he guides her across the plains of Alberta on the heels of a cow in need of attention. He said it worked slick as a whistle. I remember once when I could have used Tom's help. It was one of those cold spring days when the windbreak didn't cast a shadow. 800 bred cows were scattered out on half a section of alfalfa stubble, and they were calving right along with the usual smattering of trouble. I received an SOS that morning, but it was late in the day before I arrived to administer first aid. Hank the cowboy said he'd had a cow with a dead calf in her. She's out in the pasture, he said. Well, I bumped across the field in my vet truck while Hank accompanied me a horseback. It was chilly, but at least the ground was dry. And the next thing I knew, Hank come flying over the hummock with a cow on the end of his 50-foot rope. She headed straight for a swamp of cattails, the only low spot for 20 miles, did a half-gainer and slid in on her side. I waded into the ankle-deep water and began the unpleasant process of removing the dead calf. Encountering a slight hip lock, I took Hank's rope and looped it around the calf's middle. "Give me a steady pull," I instructed. I squatted behind the cow just as Hank's horse spooked, popped the calf out, dragged the stinking carcass across my chest, and knocked me flat on my back. The cow rolled over on my feet and squashed me in the mud, and then rose, dripping, and escaped. I last saw Hank bucking over the horizon, both hands on the horn, dragging what was left of the unfortunate calf. I drove the 80 miles home in my soggy boxer shorts. The heater was blowing on my spindly legs, and my sopping clothes lay on the pickup floor. I guess I should be thankful I wasn't stopped by the law. It was bad enough when I stopped off for coffee. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by B&W Turnover Bowl.
How about a weekend pass to the 21st Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 16th to 19th, 2017. A terrific lineup of entertainers, including Kevin David.
Early morning finds me out along the Great Divide. I stop and watch the prairie come alive.
Jay Snyder.
Imagine you're a cowboy, and breaking colts is what you do, and you've honed your skills for years and years, and other cowboys look up to you.
The one and only Ben Crane.
Hailing me with checking cows in Saskatchewan sandy hills.
And so many more. There's the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops on everything from guitar playing to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com. And for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Of all the fine new Western music CDs to come along in 2016, Keeper of the West from Ryan Fritz is one of the very best. And here's one of several great tracks, and right after you hear Buckaroo Rodeo, you'll hear Ryan explain how he came to write it.
It's raining in the saddle, the wind's in your face. You're looking for cattle, but they're hiding in some place. The ground is squishing freely between your horse's feet. An early morning circle, now who'd rather be asleep? While checking out the country, much. You come across a lame bull that needs your healing touch. Cinch up that pony and find out if he's broke. Build up to the lame bull, stop him with your rope. Well, it's a Buckaroo's rodeo, just a cowboy's horse and a rope. He'll do whatever it takes to get the job done on his own. That's Buckaroo's rodeo. You've got colts to ride. Start him in the round pen and then take him outside. Some will get to running and some don't want to move. You grab at your slicker and watch him come unglued. Well, it's a Buckaroo's rodeo, just a cowboy's horse and a rope. He'll do whatever it takes to get the job done on his own. That's Buckaroo's rodeo. Buckaroo's rodeo, whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah. Buckaroo's rodeo, whoa, whoa, yippee-ki-yay.
Buckaroo's rodeo, that was, I rode in camp one morning. We've had some pretty wet years out in Saskatchewan there, and the one morning there I went and saddled my horse, and then, the hitching rail's right in front of the kitchen window, and I'm eating my breakfast watching this colt humped up there and just not in a big hurry to get out and go checking cattle. But
that's the one you're going to ride.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought, well, it wouldn't hurt to have one more cup of coffee. And I went back to my little spot there where I'd sit and write songs and play before I'd go to work in the morning. And I remember when I first went to camp in the spring, and I just took the one colt, and Lane said, well, what are you going to have to do if, you got to doctor something? I said, well, I guess we'll get her done. It might be a Buckaroo's rodeo, but we'll get her done. And that's how that came about. And I wrote that song that morning before I went out and got drenched in the rain again.
And did he buck when you?
Yeah.
He did. But you rode him?
Oh yeah. That was. Yeah. I don't want to tell it. Well, everyone packs a phone now. It's pretty much a common thing. And a friend of mine called, and the worst is getting out of camp. There's generally lots of gates. And once you can get through those gates and get out to the pasture, things are all right. Well, I made it through these gates, and everything was fine. Then the old cell phone rings. Oh. So I'm talking to a friend of mine that was wondering about coming down to give me a hand there. And I said, hang on a second. This phone went flying. No. And I went for a tour there and managed to stick it out. And then I had to find this phone. And this is maybe 5 or 10 minutes had gone by, and I figured, well, I'll have to try to call him back. And here he's waited on the line the whole time because he wanted to make sure I was all right. Yeah. But, so that was a Buckaroo's rodeo there.
Wow. Congratulations on Keeper of the West. That's got to be a candidate for Album of the Year, I think.
Well, thank you very much. And we sure enjoy your show and all the work that you do. And you definitely are a Keeper of the West, Hugh.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Coming up, more of the best of 2016 when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. We're looking back at the best of 2016 today, and one of the finest albums to come out in the past year is really, I think, one of the best, in my humble opinion, from the last 20 years. Great collection of contemporary Western songs from Wren Hill. The title of the album is How You Heal, and Fair Weather Cowboy is just one of a dozen great songs.
I'm just a fair weather cowboy, top hand when it's sunny, warm and clear. I'll be the wooliest, wildest buckaroo, but only when summertime is here. Oh, kneel when that big old sky's bright and blue. Ooh, I am the man you should employ, but I'll be gone when that autumn wind blows through, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. My old hoss is cow horse born and bred. He likes dragging calves and roping steer. He'll sort and gather in beautiful weather, and then turn out to pasture for 9 months of the year. As long as it ain't dusty, dry and hot, not too hot, riding him is a fundamental joy. Give you everything we got if it ain't raining, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. Me, them cowpokes, they're all crazy to sit up on a horse out in the rain. Why, if it was me, I'd go in and watch a western movie and lament. I am just like old John Wayne when it's sunny, when that big old sky's bright and blue. I am the man you should employ, I'll be gone when that autumn wind blows through, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. Or I'll tell you folks, I'm just a fair weather cowboy, fresh out of Percocet. I'm just a fair weather cowboy.
Well, he's not a fair weather cowboy. Miles Kingdon is kind of a legend in the world of working cowboys. He's ridden for many of the big outfits of the West, and he's well known as a consummate expert in the world of the California-style bridle horse. From his flat brim hat to his long tapaderos and his big rowel spurs, he's buckaroo to the bone. And he shared some great stories in 2016, including this one about a frigid winter experience.
I guess everybody who rides year-round, rides in the wintertime's got something like that, you know, yourself included. I had a horse one time, his name was Diamond. When I was at the Vote Valley Ranch for Nicola, we trailed our cows out end of November when they'd got done rustling on the meadow, as long as they could rustle out. There was, I don't know, about 28 or 29 bulls left on the meadow yet. Boy, we got a snowstorm. Holy moly, 48 hours, we got 24 inches of snow even. And it just kept falling, and they couldn't get liners up the road to get the bulls out. The snow quit and cleared up, and the roads got plowed out, and management phoned and said, we got a liner coming up for them bulls tomorrow afternoon. Well, that's good. I got old Diamond in. I had shoes stripped off him, and I saddled him up the next morning, and I had just one Catahoula cross dog then, old Boomer, and him and I went out onto the meadows to bring them bulls in. And yeah, we got most of them bunched up and kicked out of them willows and on following my horse's trail through the snow back. And there was one bull, my dog was having trouble. He kept on going around and getting back into the willows and didn't want to leave. So I thought, well, I'll head over that way and give him a hand to come out. And just then I realized, I think that sump is right around here. They had an excavator come in and dig a sump to drain the meadows for all the water to run into. And gee, I got a bad feeling in my belly, eh? And I turned that horse around and I was just heading off any direction but from where I was at. And that's when I went through. And I went through that, I guess that ice it was probably minus 24, 25 that day, but it had been really nice warm fall for the most part, and that snow settled over top. And it was like insulation, so there was a little thin film of ice, but not strong enough to hold anything up. And I guess it just held me up long enough that when I moved some more, we went through. And boy, that was deep. Me and the horse both went right under. And I came up, and I was trying to get to solid ground to pull myself up. And I get my forearms on under that snow. There was that ice, I guess, and it'd break through. And then that horse, old Diamond, he was swimming behind me, and his front feet caught my belt on the back and pulled me under. And I came up sputtering, I waved my hand at him, and he got out of my way. It left me, because he's trying to come to me for help,
Yeah, but a diamond isn't going to float.
No, a diamond isn't going to float. And finally, I think what my arms came in contact with was one of those old bunch grass crowns, like them swamp meadow crowns, they get crowned up. And I pulled myself out, and I rolled around in the snow, trying to dry myself off a little bit. And I had wool pants on and a wool jacket. And I looked, and Diamond, he'd come to that same spot where I got out, but just his head and neck was sticking out. You couldn't see the saddle horn even. And the bridle reins were there, and I grabbed a hold of the bridle reins, and I thought, well, I can't pull him out with them flimsy lines, but I could coax him to try a little bit. And I tried to get him to try to come out, and he wouldn't. And then he seemed to sink back in further, and I thought, oh, my partner, he's not going to make it, But I tried again to get him to come, and about all you're doing is balancing on them lines, kind of supporting him a little bit to keep trying. He got a front foot up and pulled himself up a little bit, and the saddle horn came out of the water. And a little bit later, he got the other front foot up. And a horse will never pull as much with their front shoulders as they will with their back legs.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
Well, you look at the way they're attached, it's all ligaments.
The power
and stuff.
is all
there's not a ball joint or nothing there.
Yeah.
And he pulled himself out of there, and it was a straight up pull. Wow. It was a straight up pull.
Man.
I never thought a horse could do that, eh?
Yeah.
But anyhow, he did. And neither one of us got sick he shivered a little bit. I got him back to the barn, got the bulls locked up, and I covered him over in the barn and gave him some hay, and he was fine.
And you got the bulls on the liner?
Yeah, the bulls got on the liner, and I was a happy guy.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah.
Experience the true spirit of the West at Canada's largest Western store, Irvine Tack and Western Wear. If you need a curb strap or a 4-star gooseneck trailer, you'll find it here. A saddle for every rider. Cutters, reiners, penners, trainers, working ranch cowboys, ropers. They have over 1,200 in stock. And they have Western wear for the entire family. And shop online at irvinesaddles.ca. Free shipping on orders of over $100. irvinesaddle.ca, 1-877-946-9494. Tom Cole released another fine new CD in October of 2016, and this is a song from it that folks are already scrambling to get a hold of. It's called Alberta Blue.
Let me sing you a picture of an Alberta sky. It's as wide as the world, it's about twice as high. First a golden pink sunrise warms the land with its hue, and a new day begins, wrapped in Alberta blue. When the sun meets the mountains, those blue Rockies they ignite, and an Alberta day becomes an Alberta night. And the northern lights dancing, oh, they shimmer and shine. And a big prairie moon rides the big prairie sky. Out on the plains, an old cowboy sings a song to his herd, and the stars hung on velvet twinkle with every word. Let me sing you a picture, and I swear that it's true. There's nothing as wondrous as Alberta blue. There's nothing as wondrous as Alberta blue.
Still to come, part of that intimate conversation I had with Pat Parelli when the Best of 2016 on the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. We're looking back at the Best of 2016 this week, and it was a memorable year for conversations, music, and poetry. The first time the legendary horseman Pat Parelli was a guest on this program was back in about 1994. That was before he met Linda. And we've stayed in pretty close touch ever since then, and we had a great conversation in 2016, and that's when Pat talked fondly of one of his most respected mentors, the late Ronnie Willis.
I said, hey, why don't you come down, or come up with the bus and have a drink? He said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go up to the house and change my lipstick, which meant he was going to give himself a shot of insulin.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to take a little nap, and I'm going to just dream of horses, and I'll be back down in an hour. I got a phone call an hour and a half later, and he'd gone up there. I don't know whether he gave himself the insulin or not, but he sat down in his easy chair there and dreamt of horses, and that was it.
Wow.
And he passed away on Saturday, and that was a 2-day, Saturday and a Sunday course, clinic that we were doing. And but that was it was you know, the last thing he ever said to me. You know, he said, well, now you got it. And he said, now you got to build on that. You know, I've been with Tom and Ray and Ronnie and Troy Henry on their last days of their lives. And I really believe that when the human spirit decides to go somewhere else, that it doesn't do it until they've accomplished something big that they needed to accomplish. And I think kind of maybe making sure some of that stuff was hammered into my thick head was maybe even down deep in my heart. And Ronnie Willis used to say, it's got to be deep in your heart and strong on your mind. Mm-hmm. And he said, do your thinking at night so you just operate like you're doing now out of field during the day. Mm-hmm. So it's just, you know, again, these are just powerful lessons. And and it might not have meant that much to anybody else, and might not have meant much to me before that. Because, like Tom Dorrance would say, he says, most of this stuff is just like water on a duck's back. We pour it on you and off you go, quacking around, just thinking, yeah. But it got in thick and deep with them. Okay, thanks, you.
All right, great to talk to you, Pat. Safe travels, partner.
Everybody keep it natural.
Quite a few high-quality Western music albums arrived late in 2016, and one of the best came from another guy who's the real deal, known and respected as a top hand, one of the best ranch rodeo bronc riders you'll ever see. You probably know who I'm talking about by now. And his songwriting just keeps on getting better and better. Matt Robertson.
Give me 30,000 acres, some gentle grass cattle, some horses I know well. Cozy cow camp with a little old porch where I might set a spell. Pick a tune on my old guitar from a good cow dog named Mervis. Gonna sit out here, gonna disappear where there ain't no cell phone service, no satellite TV, no utility bills back here in the hills, 'cause there's no electricity. Gonna scrub my hide in a big stock tank, watch the grass grow when it rains. When it turns fall, gonna ship them all with high prices and record gains. High prices and record gains. I wanna hear the rhythm of my rope slap on my shafts as my pony lopes into beyond. Hear the tap and the jingle of my spurs and my tack. It's a rhythm of my favorite song. I hear it best when the sun is rising. It resonates in my bones. Out in the hills I see the lightning, hear thunder as my pony runs. Out across the great wide open, I'm chasing some old steer. If he makes it to the bush, well, he'll get wild as deer. You can track them in the tall grass, it's better if there's snow. If you hear of a place where the sun always shines, well, you know I'd love to go. You know I'd love to go. Gonna burn our brand on a ball and calf while my wife holds a rope on a little cow horse. She broke herself, it's every gentleman's hope. When I see the Alberta moon shining in her eyes, well, I fall in love all over again. You know that's no surprise. I wanna hear the rhythm of my rope slap on my shaft as my pony lopes into beyond. Hear the tap and the jingle of my spurs and my tack. It's the rhythm of my favorite song. I hear it best when the sun is rising. It resonates in my bones. Out in the hills I see the lightning, hear thunder as my pony runs. Out across the great wide open, I'm chasing some old steer. If he makes it to the bush, well, he'll get wild as deer. You can track them in the tall grass, it's better if there's snow. If you hear of a place where the sun always shines, well, you know I'd love to go. You know I'd love to go. I wanna go.
Well, that brings us down to the final Cowboy Poetry Spotlight of the year, and this poem actually didn't come out in 2016, it was before that. But that's when I played it, and when I shared it with you a few weeks ago, it brought a great response. From Jim Reeder, it really resonated with a lot of you in the light of the events in Canada and the U.S. recently. It seems really relevant now. Jim Reeder and Bring Back the Code.
In the Old West, you bet it was rough. Both men and women were hardy and tough. For sure there were those who were lawless and mean, but most folks were fine, like you and like me. In In the absence of politics, fences, and rules, an unwritten code was the West's best tool. You behaved, or you could die. No fooling, no waiting, no trial. An eye for an eye and a one-way trip to that rangeland in the sky. So here we are now, in a media-blitzed haze. 120 years later, and the code's lost in space. Well, I for one think that, well, since the world's in the tank, that living according to the code could redeem us again. From techno speed to quick relief. From immediate gratification to, who knows, synthetic meat. The world's a-changin' under our nose, and the values and principles our forefathers chose have faded away like petals off the rose. We're desensitized now through the press, movies, radio, games, and TV. And it's little eyes and ears that are the victims of this disease. We're constantly whacked and bombarded by stuff. It appears there's no limits, nothing's sacred. Enough is enough. Let's go back in time, turn back the clock. Back to the future, major culture shock. I know it's cool to be a rebel and not to conform, but heck, nowadays you're an outcast Pollyanna if you're friendly and warm. Imagine all people in person or, say, on the phone, using kindness and kinship that frontiersmen had known. At its purest and best, this code of the West was personal traits that stood the test. If more people had the cowboy's touch at courtesy, manners, respect, and such, they'd learn right quick that integrity and honor is powerful stuff. Yep, the codes, behaviors, principles, and values we need to rope in the indignants and rein in the greed. So here's to the Westerners and their qualities of old. Dear God, bring back the code.
And there you have the best of 2016. Next week we'll start in with another year's worth of programs I hope you will enjoy. Thanks again for the ongoing support of Mark and Kathy McMillan, our great support crew. And if you need tractor parts or tractor machinery parts, Mark can help you there. Just see his website at bctractorparts.com. And Alberta Beef and Beef Illustrated are two of our favorite publications. You can subscribe to them at 403-250-1090. And of course, there's great reading in every issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine. Subscribe online at cowboycountrymagazine.com. And by the way, Cowboy Country Television is now available for our American viewers on RFD television in the U.S. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.